1 minute. Or is that close enough? I can't tell.
I think it's at six.
Close enough.
All right, let's start the camera so we're live.
Pledge allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We need to make a motion for somebody to run it, or do you roll call first? Roll call.
Yeah.
And to have Zanita join it.
You can do roll call first.
Trustee Mann.
Here.
Trustee Gerger.
Present.
Trustee Fountain.
Here.
Trustee Lindhorst. Here. Trustee Mao.
Here.
Trustee Churchill.
Present.
And Village President Kimsey.
You need a motion now.
Yeah, motion, so, Nina, I assume you're gone for work purposes?
Yeah.
So we need a motion to approve that.
We're very convincing.
Follow-ups.
I move for Trustee Lindhorst to join us for work purposes by electronic communication. A second. And then do you need one for,
Yeah, if you want to, for a chair.
and then move for Trustee Gerger to chair the meeting and President Kimsey's absent. And I'll second that.
And
Where's Mr. Kimsey?
Mr. Kimsey is away for work,
I talked to him.
and he was not going to be able to get called in this evening.
Did you guys vote on the first one?
We have not.
No.
So this is for Trustee Lindhorst to be remote.
Sorry.
Trustee Mann.
Yes.
Trustee Gerger.
Yes.
Trustee Fountain.
Yes.
Trustee Mao.
Yes.
Trustee Churchill.
Yes.
Did she vote for herself? Okay. And then the second. Should I go for the chairman? Okay. Trustee Mann.
Yes.
Trustee Gerger.
Yes.
Trustee Fountain.
Yes.
Trustee Lindhorst.
Yeah.
Trustee Churchill.
Yes.
And Trustee Mao.
Yes.
Like a record show, Chris Kringle just walked in.
All right, do we have any public announcements? All right.
That's usually you. Your public announcements?
Are you getting letters?
Everybody have a happy holiday.
Thank you. You as well. Public comments on the agenda topics. I have Darlene on warrants.
I was informed earlier that it's not a question and answer, but it is my question on the warrants. And I don't know how you can have a comment and not make it a question when it's on the warrants. But anyway.
I think that was 2 questions.
I noticed on the fitness center, I'm assuming it's our little exercise building out there, that the internet was $228. There was one that was like $114, $57, and $79. How in the world can one be so high?
I think it was for 2 months for one of the bills that was missed.
And also, what was all of the water testing for?
That, the testing company would always send the bills to the gal that worked for Sherry, Alice. So they kept sending them to her email. And she's been gone for...
Over a year and a half.
Yeah.
But they were sending us some bills. It
Yeah.
was just bills that I think one employee from the company was sending. So we were getting bills, so it didn't appear to us to be unusual, because we were paying them periodically.
So they went back and they found the mistake, and they got hold of Jill, and they're all on this one here, so.
We're all corrected and have a process going forward.
We do.
Any other comments? Okay. Move on to the consent agenda. Village board meeting minutes from November 14th.
Make a motion to approve those minutes.
I will second.
All those in favor?
Is it for the whole consent agenda?
Is it, well, no.
That's what I mean.
You have to do the warrants too.
Yeah, so the motion was to approve the consent agenda, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm making sure.
Yeah, so you just have to do that one.
Roll call. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda. We just did
I
the,
make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
there we go.
I'll second.
Thank you. Trustee Mann?
Yes.
Trustee Gerger?
Yes.
Trustee Fountain?
Yes.
Trustee Lindhorst?
Yes.
Trustee Mao?
Yes.
Trustee Churchill?
Yes. Old business, a resolution approving an agreement with Sundown One for multimedia upgrades to the Village Hall boardroom.
Yeah, so I'll just make a quick comment on that. I did have a concern on the live streaming portion of it that they proposed. It's actually, my concern was around the company that they had chosen to utilize. And the company that they have chosen in the proposal is a company called Live Stream. I wanted to do a little bit more research on that company so that we, had some kind of knowledge about what we're getting into. They're one of the top 3 providers in that space when it comes to live streaming. So I'm fairly comfortable with us paying the extra. There's some cheaper solutions, but I would prefer that we pay for a solid solution, somebody that's been in the business. Not that there's any real long-term thing for this live streaming type stuff. They've been in business longer than most other of their competitors. They have the more, they have the better class of customers type thing. They do a lot more of the Fortune 500 type world for live streaming and information. So I'm comfortable with us paying a little bit extra money for a product that we will be able to utilize and should provide us a solid foundation to be able to live stream from, so.
Will there be a monthly fee?
Yeah, so the subscription to their service will cost us about $2,400 a year. And with that subscription, you get certain things. You get an enterprise class subscription, which gives you some scheduling, the ability to live stream to YouTube, Facebook, those things. And some other added software functionality from their website, so.
So on this proposal, the live stream equipment is included that we would buy.
Correct. But there's an additional to make that equipment work, and that's what I needed to.
That'll come back separate.
Correct, so that'll be something that the village will have to pay for separate from this proposal. This proposal, that's a hardware device that we'll put in the rack of equipment that allows us to capture the information and stream it to their service. Now, their service then allows us to manipulate that stream to send it out to social media or any other place that we need to. And that's the value add, is the layer of reliability that the live stream company, which that's their name, is Live Stream. They add that extra layer of reliability in there and making sure that live stream looks good to the end user.
Do we know where it's being recorded as well? Right.
Yeah, it would still be stored on our YouTube. Let's just say we continue to use YouTube like we do today. It would still be there and stored on the YouTube channel for Chatham.
Would we have it set to where it couldn't be altered? It's recorded as is and...
Well, I'll say yes, but I mean, that's only, you can always do something with it. That's kind of a loaded question.
Right. That would be, I mean, Jeff, wouldn't you say that you would want a solution that would make it so it couldn't be?
I don't know, like with PDFs now, you can, manipulate PDFs. I'm not as familiar with the.
It's kind of the same principle, right? It's
Somebody has.
It's internet traffic. I mean, you can capture internet traffic.
If you can grab it off. Now, but would you have to actually hack into YouTube to modify that video or, you know.
There's a lot of different ways you could accomplish
You
it.
download it and then manipulate it and.
That's why it's a tool, it's not the tool,
And I think one way that we address that with documents is, we always kind of keep the original. So is there a way that, even though it's being streamed to YouTube, that we keep the original video kind of separate under lock and key where?
Well, could that be? Yes, that could happen. I don't know that the village wants to, we would have to, over time, that would take up a lot of space, which in turn means a lot of money.
Yeah.
So,
Or they would ask you to, and that's what I thought maybe the part of the $2,400 was the storage of your videos in the cloud.
Right.
it is to an extent, but there's a cap on it.
On how much stays there.
Yeah.
And these should not be the official record.
No,
Right.
So I don't think we need to treat them as that, because then you're gonna add so much more expense of trying to be able to capture this and make sure that's the official record of the meeting. I think the board docs and the clerk taking minutes until we're required by someone else. I wouldn't try to make a YouTube video the official.
Right, and by law, if we do record it, is there any kind of time frame that we have to keep it?
The audio recording, I'm not sure that there is. It'd probably be part of the Secretary of State's Local Records Division. We could check on that.
See what we have it set at, we can set that.
Yeah,
Just like the state
You
agencies
can
can set.
probably get that on a schedule to delete or erase them.
But see, like these, I don't keep any of this. It all goes out to YouTube. How long they allow those to sit there, I have no
It's up to
idea.
them.
The idea was to turn around, and if anybody wanted to watch it on a Tuesday night without coming down here, it would be available to them. And you can go back and watch a few months, but,
Right.
we've been doing this now for what, 3 years, maybe 4?
And Jeff, like you said, with the Secretary of State, there is the Local Records Act. If this isn't being considered a record, now whether there's been something passed in through past boards, that made it a record, I don't know if it would necessarily apply.
Well, records include kind of digital and video, so I think it probably would be considered if we're making it, it's strange though, because we're not, it's going out there into the cyber world, so it's obviously kind of a different animal, but I'm sure we could address that aspect of it, make sure that we're.
Could we have somebody from Sundown come in and do like a presentation? So if people have questions that they could ask them?
Yeah,
Maybe set that for the next committee of the whole, or if we can, or...
One additional question I have is, I know a need has been like in the parks where they've been wanting to put camera equipment because of things being graffiti or things being stolen. I didn't know if we could look into doing a comprehensive audio-visual plan that maybe could include that, since there's so many parks where there may be need, and I know that's been a cost issue in the past and with Parks and Rec, it's been too expensive, they didn't see the ROI there. So if we're looking at this and we're looking to spend the money, is there a way where we could look at this where it impacts both here but also in the parks to save?
Well,
to save money.
That's not really the intent of what this particular system is, not that it couldn't be utilized in that fashion. The device that we actually purchase is really not too much bigger than your cell phone. It's a little bit thicker than that. And it's actually meant to mount, it can mount to a mobile camera and have a cellular modem connect in via USB, so it can move throughout wherever we want it to go, but that's really not the intent of what this is for.
Right.
Now, it doesn't mean we couldn't grow the program, but again, even that, what you're talking about there with the parks, it's more of a security type surveillance system, where this isn't really meant for that at all.
And we have a security system in the parks now, like the main concession building down there, that has cameras all over it.
Oh, okay.
And you still get vandalism. Kids will walk straight up to the camera, put their face right on the camera, and then spray paint the camera. We've put one recently in,
Do they pay for the camera then?
Their mom and dad?
yeah.
Somebody does.
So, we've down here, the main ball line, they break into it on a regular basis. They break the door down, and then they go in there and find, oh, there's nothing in here. Almost to the point where we just leave the door off, so then they don't have to break the door to get it, to find out that there's nothing inside of it. But we have a few cameras like that have the recording device there. So if we see vandalism, you're not catching them in the act, but you have a good chance of going back and seeing who it was. We've just recently, we had in our budget this year to add a few cameras over across the street, and those will be going online within the next week. But those will be seen live, just like the cameras along the outside of this building in the police station.
Right.
We looked at a full surveillance system for all of our parks and all of our properties, and because of having to have internet at each location to be able to send that signal back here so that they could see it live, it wasn't
Very expensive.
it was very expensive. The cost was not worth the outcome of having to repaint something or something like that. Yeah. Well, we had two different firms, a big firm out of St. Louis, and then another one, I think Young's came out and gave us a quote, and both of them were close to $100,000. So.
Well, I know security and this are different intended purposes, but I thought that we might take advantage of this opportunity, because I know not a lot of people watch the YouTube channel as is, so if we're spending this chunk of change, if we could benefit the parks at the same time, if there's a way to save some.
It sounds like they're already into the mean.
We don't have it pointed at every piece of playground equipment.
Yeah.
Right,
I mean,
I guess just to clarify, are we looking to take any type of action on this?
no.
Okay, I just want to verify that was the case.
But could we have them come in, and if we have further questions?
Yeah, I'm sure he would agree to it.
And I could go back and give you a little bit more information on what the local records, implications would be, how other communities maybe deal with that.
Because if this has to be maintained as a legal record, I think we should stop doing it then. Because it's not
The
required.
clerk has to have a recording of every single meeting.
Closed session.
Just the closed sessions.
Just an audio.
Hey,
Not,
sorry, Ryan, I got a question for you. Ryan, I don't know if you know the answer or not. With that park debris that they were talking about, is that something, because I know that, I feel like there is, like, Pat mentioned the playground equipment, and I feel like that's a huge issue. I don't know if, do you feel like there's a company that can do both, or is that not an option?
Well, there's companies that can do both easily. It's just whether you want to put that much money into it.
Yeah, because we're
Right,
talking.
that's what I'm curious, is asking those questions. Yeah, I was curious if Ryan had an idea of,
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely doable, and there's definitely companies that can do it. I mean, but it takes your costs from, $30,000 to $60,000, $70,000, $100,000, where do we want to stop, right? And the idea behind what we're trying to accomplish is just upgrade this room right here so it's functional for the entire village. And we can upgrade our service to the community through the YouTube channel or directly to Facebook. Because, not a lot of people watch the YouTube channel, but we do know that there's several hundred people that watch what Jeff records, and those recordings are watched a lot after these meetings. So, now whether or not they watch the whole thing is a different story, but it would be, I think it looks.
Is it possible that 55,000, again, maybe with the presentation will be helpful, can we make sure by a system that we can, that's 20,000, that's one camera, you know what I mean? Like, what is our options? And maybe that's where that presentation will be helpful, you know what I mean?
For the presentation next week.
If the presentation, if they could
Security.
say what our options are. Oh, like a different option? They'll be knowledgeable, sometimes people are really knowledgeable on.
But they're probably not the ones that you're
Right, they
looking for
would
security cameras.
Yeah.
No, not for security cameras, but I mean for our presentation system.
It's not gonna hurt to ask the question, it never hurts to ask the question.
Or who they would recommend, or if we were looking.
Or they partner with somebody too.
With this proposal, if we're just taking this, could we do part of it? Like, we know the audio needs badly updated, that's probably the highest priority is the audio. And if we didn't want to spend 25,000 this year, we could just do, the audio, that way we're not.
Well, we're kind of, the answer to your question is, I wouldn't want to. Could we piece this out? Yes, we could, but I wouldn't want to, because the way this proposal is laid out is kind of like one solid foundation to do some new things later. So yes, it's a revamping of the audio system. Once you add in all the new microphones, all the new back-end hardware to make all of that stuff work, there's not much savings in that if you just take away the $500 piece that streams the audio. Because that's really all it is at that point, is a $500 piece of hardware and the service to connect that to the web. So now you're really only saving $500 in a subscription.
We had a training class in here today, and the company that came in, I gave them all the specs, I even gave them the CD to load that projector on there so that they could wirelessly do it. They couldn't figure it out, so they bring their own projector in and stack up a couple chairs and boxes and then project it on the screen. So he spends half the time getting the thing set up and the rest of the time tearing it back down. And then it projects instead of all the way across. It's a small little thing in the middle. It'd be nice if we had a nice projector system that, and from what they described, he would come in and stick in his USB stick and run the thing directly off of it. Wouldn't have to bring his projector, his computers, or nothing.
So I mean, it's a complete solution for this room as it sits today.
The police teach their Bassett program and stuff in here. They line up tables, there's 20, 25 people in here at a time for about 2.5 hours about, that our police officer trains the local bartenders on how to check for IDs, how to look for if someone's drunk, those types of things. We need a professional room to be able to do that in, and I think the stuff that Ryan has brought forward will take care of that. The stuff with the parks, it's hit and miss. You'll find a group of 13-year-olds or 12-year-olds that decide, hey, my goal this summer is to terrorize and paint stuff. They age up 1 year, then they're gone. Then the problem goes away, and then maybe 2 years later, you got a problem back again. It's hit and miss. It's not cost effective to put a $100,000 camera system out there to try to catch a couple kids that are spray painting stuff. That in the end, all you're going to do is, you shouldn't have done that, Johnny, because you aren't going to send somebody to jail for spray painting something.
Yeah, I mean, it's an aggravation, you know, I mean,
I'm not saying that publicly.
Yeah.
Perhaps there's no.
If a private group
had wanted to put a security system in our parks, I guess they could,
If they
right?
wanted to do that, I would give them better ideas where we could use $100,000.
But technically, they wanted to put a camera system in the parks. They could.
Because we could use it to replace a lot of that wooden playground out there that needs to be replaced.
The baseball thing that gets broken into, the baseball group could put cameras there, and they could monitor it and that kind of stuff, correct?
They could.
Yeah.
And we have a camera in there now, so we catch the person that kicks the door in.
Brian, quick question. On the exhibit, as far as their proposal, I do think it still needs to be corrected where they take off the sales tax, which will save us $1,600 the first year. So that pays for 2/3 of the subscription service. And Pat, I'm assuming the $2,400 a year for the subscription service is not going to break us or necessarily impede us from doing some other projects. Yes, it's still a cost, but...
And that 2,400 probably, would you spread that over each water, electric, because all of them will utilize it?
Oh, yeah. The cost of the piece of equipment would be spread out over the 3 different budgets, and so would the subscription.
Have we found the money for that?
No.
Okay.
But we haven't looked quite yet, because we need to get a little farther into our budget process to see how those numbers are all balancing out. But I got the consensus from you guys is that you thought it was a good project, and we're gonna keep an eye out for it.
Yeah.
And you were gonna check to make sure that if there was a subscription, so that's why it should stay on the agenda, I think, as an old item. And then when...
Could we have them presented to the next committee of the whole? I'll try. See if they will.
Yeah, I gotta find out about, their schedule and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely.
Who owns that somehow?
Who owns it? That I'm not sure. I don't know the...
They're on the commercials.
Yeah, it's a family-owned thing, and actually Tyler, who's on the commercials, is, he's the sales guy.
But he's not gonna be able to bring a camera out here and show how it all works. He's just gonna essentially go through the PowerPoint presentation with you and say, this is what we're gonna get, and this is what it'll do.
I went to Flash, I went to show, I went,
Not gonna happen.
too bad. Well, thank you for listening.
Very possible.
If you have your system, you can have the play.
Yeah. Seriously, thanks for research, I know this has been something needed, and
Very much so. All right, any other discussion on that? Move on to new business. Resolution approving an agreement with Matrix Consulting Group to provide professional consulting services to the village of Chatham for a performance audit. Do you have any discussion or any motions?
I just have, again, my concerns, as I stated last time, number one, the cost, number two, what seems like a rushed project, in my opinion, or a rushed agreement with this company, and that's why I'll be voting against it.
And are we looking to take action on it tonight?
That was my understanding, was
And then I'm assuming to bring it to the table and then do the discussion.
Okay, so there's been a resolution that's prepared, so you can do motions, so let's make a motion to approve the resolution.
so Jeff, did you sent it, and did you have any changes about?
Yeah, so after the last meeting, I approached the gentleman from Matrix that night and asked them if they had a kind of a standard contract that they use. He provided the contract. I made a couple of red line changes that are in the packet, and he was agreeable to those changes. But essentially, we're just incorporating the RFP, their proposal, and those types of things, and then just kind of the standard language. I think the intent here will be, we kind of asked for what his thought would be on a time frame, that type of thing, and I think that, I don't know if Pat ever touched base with them, but I think they were going to work to try and figure out when that time frame will start, what that ultimate time frame will look like in conjunction with the comprehensive plan review and update and that type of thing. Pat, I don't know if you have anything to add.
I reached out to him a couple times, and he tried to get back to me a couple times. He's out in California this week, and we weren't able to, we kept leaving messages for each other. But I told him on the last one, I said, I think we're going to pass this tonight. Then we will get, the mayor would like to have myself and him and Molly from the Regional Planning Commission, the four of us sit down and take a look at what Molly's schedule is that she has mapped out, and then have Mr. Pennington turn around and see if he can match his timing and his schedule they work out with that. And then we'll look at that, bring that to you guys and see if that is sufficient for you, but I think that's what we'll try to do. And then also try to work it into what I have coming up over the next few months. We have a budget that needs to be prepared and ready to go by May, and then we have 2 union contracts that need to be negotiated, one with the police and one with the operators by May. So it'll be a busy few months here.
And I appreciate that and understand that. Will you be able to stagger, would you be looking to how you would stagger that with Molly, or?
I think what we need to do is get those 2 together and see how much time and when. If Molly said that she thought hers would take 2 years, and I think Pennington said, what, 6 to 9 months?
No, on his proposal, it said 4 months max, I think.
So for me, where him and Molly think, that fits.
It's a recommendation from them as to where that.
Could one of the trustees attend that meeting too? Just if they had questions?
Yeah.
So we'll talk. All right, so we need a motion to bring it.
I'll make that motion to the table.
I'll second.
Okay, any questions or discussion on it?
Yeah, a couple of items. In resolution, I know we had a discussion last time around, with the third whereas, the majority of the village board believes that the proposal submitted by Matrix Consulting Group is the most suitable and best proposal for the village. And, yes, I did pretty much pass last time, but I also know that based on the scoring, whether it was done correctly or not, they were not the ones who scored the highest. I do have a little bit of a concern there still. I do think Pat's approach, because I do believe this needs to probably occur, if it does pass, a little bit further into the comprehensive plan. Instead of just seeing that one snapshot today, I would much rather see something that take a look also at the 5, 10, 20 years down the road and say, okay, yes, we believe this is what you need today, but we also believe this may be where you need to be headed in 5 years, 10 years. As far as getting them started immediately and getting done over with before the comprehensive plan has even started, I do see an issue there. Now, with them getting together and saying, okay, here's where we think would be the best time to throw it in, and, I think it's definitely a good approach. Yeah. And hopefully it's going to be somewhere, it could be 6, 9 months down the road before they actually get started.
I do too. My only thing is when you're doing a performance audit, it's about, so they say this is what your organization should look like at a town of 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. If the comprehensive plan says in 10 years we're going to be a town of 10,000, we'll have that because it'll say this is what your organization should look like at 10,000. Correct. And if when the comprehensive plan is finished, we'll see where they build it out to. We all know that these plans aren't, they're a plan. Nothing goes according to plan.
Understood.
But if the comprehensive plan says we're going to be a town of 100,000 in 20 years, they should be able to provide those numbers, but in 20 years, we could be a town of 10,000. The comprehensive plan, if it doesn't go the way it is, so those performance audits just tell you what your staffing should look like at this, and this level. They don't look years out. They're not,
Whether we're looking at years or population is still somewhere down the road.
correct.
So, and if, we pass this and.
But I think that's good to read.
Yeah, you guys meet, he says, you know what, you're doing this right now, let's put this off a little bit. You could come back to the board and, pass that on to us and, we can work on that. I mean,
That was the plan.
if that's his recommendation, I think that makes sense. But I want to address the point earlier to your third whereas, majority of the village board. In terms of the ranking, I'd say I ranked Matrix number 1. Trustee Lindhorst said she did.
Not correctly, did.
I did. Yes, I did.
She did not.
Well,
I said it, I did. My word said it. I was there.
That's what I'm going off of.
Oh my gosh!
Well,
You said it very clearly.
Well, the intention
If that was
was-
confused or you were confused, you should have came and asked me that question prior to. But I said
know what's
publicly,
going on.
and very clearly simply with my voice who my number one choice was.
And the records
Just
of
like I'm
Chatham
still
Hollow say
living in
that that was
Chatham,
not the case.
Illinois.
That was not the case in the records.
Well, I think that's true. This isn't a procurement process, so, and it seems like a silly argument against it. So you had 3 of the votes voted, and the vote passed with a majority supporting Matrix. So so the majority of the board did support one company, and we had 4 come in and present. So, I just wanted to address that point, saying that there was a majority that does support one.
I agree with Terry, I think it does need to be removed or at least adjusted, that whereas, also my concern.
By definition, if it passes a majority.
Also, my concern is, if they come back and say, well, your staffing is way too low at this point, so are we gonna pay this company this X amount of money, which can be used in other projects in our community, or take their advice and hire all these people, and if we do that, where are we going to get the money to increase those staffing levels that performance appraisal says we need to be in?
Well, that was a question, if you attended if you were at the meeting when they were here, that was a question one of us asked, and they said, we wouldn't give you a proposal without a solution to it.
Well,
They're not gonna come back to us and say, you need to spend $2 million more, and.
Well, I don't see why we're doing this. So if we're doing a performance appraisal, one of those things.
Yeah.
I completely get why he doesn't understand.
Jeff, how can we discuss that?
This is what major corporations do, they plan.
You have to have a
And
motion.
maybe we would have had some things that we put into place if we would have had better plans instead of just reacting. It's time we start planning instead of reacting.
Yeah, on the resolution, my thought on that whereas was, that would be reflective of, assuming that the votes were gonna stay the same, that there would at least be a couple people that would not support this resolution. So we couldn't say that everybody believed it, but based on the discussion at the last meeting, it seemed clear there was a majority that believed that. By passing this resolution, obviously, it'll take 4 votes to pass, and by that definition, then it's a majority. You guys, you 4 are saying, it's those 4 saying that you believe they're the most qualified.
That seems completely silly. Why would you remove something if it's passed, which has to pass?
So somebody can make a motion to amend. I think there's been a motion to approve the resolution second. You could make a motion to amend the resolution to, to remove that and then see if,
I guess I've got one other concern with the agreement. Line 5, dealing with changes. Basically says, village may from time to time require changes in the scope of services of the consultant to be performed here under. Such changes which are mutually agreed upon between the village and the consultant shall be incorporated in written amendment to this agreement. I think we need to at least add in there, when we're talking to the village in this line, it should be through the village administrator, so that trustee, whoever, calls them up and says, hey, I think you need to go in this direction, and they go, well, that's an official from the village, we will head that direction when it may not be a majority, so I do believe that needs to be changed, that any changes would be through the village administrator.
And we can certainly do that. My reading of this is we're actually talking about the village board there, so if you were going to do a scope amendment, that would actually be something that would come back to the village board.
Okay.
Whether it be one trustee or the administrator, that would be an amendment to the agreement that would apply to the village board.
Then there at the very beginning, where indication of the village of Chatham, Illinois, here and called the village, I think that needs to then include the village board in the definition then.
All right, I don't think that would be a problem. I don't know, does anybody have a friendly amendment on that? I don't think that would be a problem.
That makes sense.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to pass.
No second.
It's already,
It's already there, we're still in discussion.
you already seconded.
I know, let's do it.
And I'm very well aware of how this works. I read all the proposals and saw the proposals while I was not here. But as you said, they'll have a solution. What's that mean? Solution A to raise taxes, solution B to cut services, solution, because the salaries are all set except for about 5 people in this community. All the others are under unions. So do you cut all those 5, their salaries, to make way for those other added staff? Or, I mean, if you don't know what your solution is or idea, then what's the point of having this at all?
So let me just add this, Matt, because I'm 4 years past just going through this as my department. The appraisal that we went through wound up doing nothing but helping us plan long-term. When my particular division wound up going through this, it came out that we were vastly understaffed. And which meant that we were not only vastly understaffed, we were vastly underfunded. Now, we didn't make drastic changes immediately. We're 4 years into the plan. We just now, 4 years later, have budgeted for the last 4 years to increase the staffing, to increase the financial backing for everybody. And we are still behind 4 years later, but we had the roadmap to say, we know by industry standards that we should be supporting the growth that we have with this many people. And it has been by far one of the biggest assistance I've ever had in my career, to be able to have the proper staff to not only that, but then management understands that those people not only need to be paid, they need to be trained. All of that cost becomes something that can be budgeted for over a long period of time. And there is no immediate fix for any of that, but you have a defined plan that allows you a tool to get from point A to point B. So not just rumor saying, and not just Pat knowing. I mean, Pat knows, but he has a document behind it that says, industry standard says I should have 5 more guys in the water department than what I do. Now, we can't just hire 5 guys off the street. We've got to plan that off, make sure that there's a lead structure in place, and it takes a long period of time to get to that point.
So again, like I said, you're either going to raise water rates, you're either going to cut salaries to add those other people, because when governments are underfunded, I mean, generally, that means more taxes. That means more rate hikes. That means more, and that doesn't come out of, in thin air, that comes out of their pockets, our pockets. So, and if we have this plan, to me, I don't want to pay them X dollars if we're not going to do what they say we need to do. Whether it's over 4 years or 1 year, I mean,
If you've never been through one of these...
I've been through one of these, that's what I'm saying.
Where have you been through one of these?
So I've been through one with community colleges when I was on that board, and in business. So I've been through these before. And again, we have been through situations where we don't listen to what they say. And we don't do what they say, and the question becomes, why did we pay you all this money if we're not going to do what you're suggesting?
That's lack of...
that's my whole point.
That's what that is. So I've been through one, and again, I have the same experience as Ryan. Could we get done what they said, what they suggested right away? No. But it gave us a blueprint of where we need to go and what we need to do. And managers loved it, hated it going through it, loved it as the end product. Now, again, we can tell where you're at, and you can voice on the record where you want to be on this, but at the same time, if they can figure out how to do things more effectively and more efficiently, you could actually save money in some areas, and that money could be put towards hiring staff and doing whatever. You don't know what it's going to produce until they look.
Can I ask, because I haven't been through one of these.
Yeah.
But did they also take a look at reducing services too? Because I could see where if you don't have additional funding coming in, the only way to either run more efficient is to reduce services to be able to get enough people then in to be able to take care of the parts that you're falling behind on?
They look at all aspects.
Right. Well, I mean, we could, because I mean, through this, they can do surveys and find that, residents really don't want this particular service. And it's a service that we're providing that's really not of a value, but there's a service that's greatly demanded and needed and wanted that you don't have resources to dedicate to because you've only got so many arms and can go so many directions, that can point out, say, you know what, this maybe resources need to be shipped over to this bucket. And that will really, I think, be a great tool for you. And we don't know that.
When I found out we were doing it, Pat, I was like, I've got enough work. I don't need to do anymore. I don't need this on my plate. My reaction was exactly that. But I can tell you, 3 or 4 years out, it's been the best thing that we've done. And it's reorganized us, and we're way more efficient and way more effective in the services that we do provide.
I can't see where it would hurt at all. I think it could be a benefit. The tough thing is it's going to force you to look in the mirror and say,
absolutely,
we can't keep living this lifestyle.
Correct, and we may not like what we see, but as soon as we get honest about it and we can move forward and start correcting it, if you have somebody with unbiased eyes looking at it and then give us a true assessment of what we do wrong, what we do right. That's the other thing they do. They're like, you do this really right, keep going. That's good affirmation as well.
Because I can't imagine, because there's been a lot of things you've had to focus on, and you can only go so much, but, one thing that always comes to my mind is, as fast as we've grown, that's a lot of changes, and that's hard for any, staff to keep up with, so having this come in, kind of give best practices, it may just validate everything, but if it adds a few tools.
And the other thing, when you're doing the budget, and it says, you need enough help in the accounting. If you just throw that out there, and there they go, spending money. Well, if you have this plan saying, look, this is where they say we should have. This is what we should have. It's easier to budget and do that kind of stuff as well.
My personal favorite thing that came out of ours that we did was when they looked at my group, the comment that came back, and the company that we used was Gartner, who's, they're worldwide for this kind of thing. They came back and they said, well, we don't know how you've been pulling it off with as few people as you have, so congratulations and a great pat on the back, because you guys are doing something that nobody else can. So that was my personal favorite thing, which then turned around where I didn't get as much as they had said that I needed, because my management knew that, well, they were doing a lot more with less, but I still got the additional tools and the ability to move forward and planned it out and did the things. And it's on us as a board to make sure that this happens. It's on us as leaders to make sure that we give all of the possible tools to the employees of the village. And follow through with the things that are recommended.
Well, and I just want to say, I feel like everybody thinks this is like a punishment, and it's not. It is, there's two big huge things. It's somebody coming in with different eyes. Just as an example, I came into a new organization, found a bunch of extra money that wasn't there, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, it wasn't my fault. It's nobody's fault. It's different eyes. We gotta stop getting this attack mode. And then secondly, Pat's not around for the next 10 years. There's a reality here that we have to face as a community. And we have to make sure we're planning correctly for the future of Chatham and for what's going to happen when Pat leaves.
She's saying what's going to happen.
Well, she is going to stay around for 10 years, but I don't think so.
How many more weeks are you going to be around?
I think forever. Hey, my kids want to stay. They're like, there's a reason we're staying. You can drive.
So what do we, so we've moved, we've seconded.
We have action, so the discussion's over now, we can take the vote.
Okay.
Okay.
Take the vote.
Trustee Mann?
Yes.
Trustee Berger?
Yes.
Trustee Fountain?
like I said before, I know my biggest concern is when this happens, especially if it happens too soon before the comprehensive plan. Basically, I just have a couple other issues at this point in time that I'm going to be voting no.
Trustee Lindhorst?
Yes.
Trustee Mao?
No.
Trustee Churchill?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Next thing, 2017 property tax levy.
That's just a repeat of what was on the agenda from last month. At the next meeting, we will have our public hearing on, you want to tell them about that, Sherry?
Just prior to the board meeting at 5:45 will be the public hearing on the property tax levy, and then following that will be the actual property tax ordinance for passage. And along with that, there is a resolution to abate the taxes related to the electric bonds, because there's a levy attached to that, and every year we abate that.
Okay.
Next, K-9 retirement.
Ferg can fill you in on that.
I think you guys were, I believe you have all the current information that's in front of you, this on the admin side. We received notice from Dr. Mender that Bella, she put in 6 years and 9 months. It's his recommendation to go ahead and take her out of service based on her health conditions. It's not unusual. Dogs vary, they can vary anywhere from 5 years up to 10 years, so she's got some degenerative disc, she's got some fusing disc in her back. We felt at this time it's the best interest to go ahead and retire her. My plan is to come back to the board on the 12th and make a presentation in front of the board as well. This just kind of came at the, I was notified this last few weeks. So I'm in the process right now to look at, to possibly to get another dog. So I'm in the early stages of that as we speak.
So, real quick, I assume this is not a permanent return.
For the dog?
For the dog.
No, not permanent. Permanent as far as her job, only on her job. Yes. And that's why the proposal's in front of you, because we did work it out with the union that we want to offer the dog back to the handler, which is Officer Richards. I believe he'd be more than happy to take her as a pet, and that's the idea, behind this is to sell her back for $1. That's what I want to do. Yes, I want to sell her back, yes. So that way he can take care of her.
Thank you.
So, that's what he recommends and he wants?
Yes, he has one possession of Bella.
Okay. How old is she total?
She started in 2010. I don't know exactly. I want to say she's probably 8 years old.
Okay.
Don't hold me to that, though.
Right. It's on record.
You said you're looking for new one?
Yeah, I'm in the early stages of it. We'll probably go down kind of the same road. I'm looking more, not for German Shepherd, I'm looking for a lab. That's what I'm looking at, for a dog.
I've got a lab at home.
I want to make a real big note to Officer Richards. My kids, he's been going to the school with them for years, and he has done an amazing job with them. They love the way that Officer Richards did with the kids. The school has commented positively, and I can tell you my kids recognize him and that dog, and what they have done for this community has not been recognized enough.
Well, absolutely. He and Bella's been a staple to the community, and that's why I want to continue the tradition moving forward. It's not cheap, but that's why I'm starting to look at the costs and stuff for it.
I would hope that Officer Richards stays in some form of that, because he's done an amazing job with those kids. So.
It would be interesting to know, and I don't know if Officer Richards or you could put together, but the different, things she's done or found or, in her career as a K-9 for our community.
Daunting, very tasking. The thing is, she's worked with other agencies. She's worked with ISP, she's worked with DEA, with different agencies, and, there are some stuff out there still pending, litigation-wise with these other agencies for seizures and stuff like that. That's what our primary task is, so. We do work with other agencies on interoperable agreements and stuff like that. And that would be the plan moving forward as well, to do that same thing.
Good. Well, thank you.
Are you saying Matt more of a like, thank you, like, here's a bunch of pictures, just because, I mean, we've done that for retiring other people. I think it's, for people who are animal lovers, that does really matter to them.
Now, my point is to bring to Officer Richards here to the next board meeting and Dr. Minder as well, because I think, we definitely thank Dr. Minder. Dr. Minder has provided services for Bella for the last 7 years at no cost to the village. So,
Yes.
Very nice.
that's why I will bring that back for December 12th.
Can you work that same deal on the new dog?
I've already talked to him, he said he'd be more than happy, he'd be delighted to take care of it.
So, Ryan, I'm just curious.
Because they're great dogs.
They are, and they're more friendly. I don't want a dual purpose dog. A dual purpose is basically for narcotics and for biting. I haven't seen the need, and since we've had Bella to have a bite dog, then it's more liability to take on with a bite dog. So I'm thinking more of it just a single purpose type dog, research dog.
That's actually smart.
So, that's right.
Insurance purposes and
Yes.
stuff like that.
You would say that.
Try to win a lot of deals.
Nice job, Mark.
That's the job.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Public comments on village business, I have nothing, nobody signed in. Anybody want to make any comments?
Just that Dr. Minder's very good, he's been our vet, so we really think the world of Dr. Minder.
All right, next, scheduled meetings, December 11th, Utility Oversight Subcommittee meeting, 7:30 PM. December 12th, Village Board meeting, 6 PM, Municipal Hall. December 12th, Committee of the Whole, 6:15, Municipal Hall. December 19th, ADA Transition Plan Committee, 6 PM, Municipal Hall. December 21st, Planning Commission, 6 PM, Municipal Hall. December 26th, Village Board, 6 PM, Municipal Hall. Very full month.
It is.
Closed session, there's no need for closed session, correct? Need a motion to close?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It passes.
What's the Christmas party?
Hey, 2 minutes before, dear Paul.
Yes, we're good.